All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about um, why the surface area of a cone formula makes sense. And it's just a little bit of a weird formula. And so I'll take you through why that process makes sense. So if you have a cone like this and you unwrap it to make a net, you're going to get that base circle like this. And then the curved part of the cone unwraps, but it doesn't make a full circle. The curved part of the cone unwraps to make some sort of a sector like this. And the size of that sector changes depending on how tall your cone is. If you have a really tall cone, you're going to get a bigger sector. If you have a very short cone, you'll have a smaller sector. Which makes sense because the bigger the cone, the bigger the surface area. But what's important to keep in mind here is that this arc right here has to be exactly the same length as this entire circumference right here. That's what makes it wrap around to make the cone. And so let's use that fact that our purple arc needs to equal our blue circumference. And let's start giving some labels to things. So on the original cone, we have our R for radius, we have our H for height, and a lot of times we'll use the letter L for the slant height. So when we unwrap it, the circumference still has an R, and we have an L right here along the slant height. And we can find the H, but it's not really relevant for finding the surface area, it turns out. So what I'm going to do is write my arc length formula. Well, arc length formula is theta divided by 360 times 2 pi r. But on this particular arc, here's theta, and I'm not going to use the letter r because I'm already using the letter r for my blue circle. The radius here is actually the letter L because that's what's making the radius of that big sector here. If I imagine this red thing, see how the L, uh, oops. Oh, that's awesome. Did it delete all my drawings? Okay, we'll draw it again. So we have our big circle. We have our sector like this with theta. We're trying to find the purple sector. We're labeling this with the letter L. And then we have our circumference of our circle with the letter R. So now we know that theta over 360 times 2 pi L has to equal the circumference of the circle, 2 pi r. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi because that will make things a little bit simpler. And the angle theta is really hard to measure. So what I'm going to try to do is solve for the angle theta. So I have theta times L over 360 equals R. So we'll multiply both sides by 360. So we have theta times L equals R times 360, and then divide by L. So theta equals R times 360 over L. So now let's figure out what our total surface area is. The surface area is also split up into two different pieces. You've got this entire area of a sector here, plus this entire area of a circle right there. So the surface area is going to be the circle plus the sector. So let's write it out. Circle area is pi r squared. Sector area, just like arc length, sector area is theta over 360 times pi r squared, but our r is actually L here. Okay. All this work over here gave me a substitution for theta. So I'm going to rewrite my surface area in a slightly different form. Theta can be replaced with r times 360 over L. So I just replaced this theta with this right here. So I'm still going to copy over 360 times pi times L squared. Okay, well, r times 360 and divided by 360 cancels out. So we get pi r squared plus r over L times pi L squared. Well, remember that L squared is just L times L. And I also have a divided by L here. So I can cancel one of the L's there. And then here is the formula that is given in textbooks. Pi r squared plus pi r L. And so this formula is useful because if you actually have a physical cone, you can measure the slant height. Just put your ruler up against the slant height, and you can measure the radius. Usually I go all the way across the circle and just divide by 2. And then you'll be able to get the entire surface area for the cone. But I just wanted to show you where that formula came from. So please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.